Welcome, welcome to the Mind Fuck Podcast. Yay! Welcome once again, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out to hang out with me. I am uber grateful you're here. Hmm. My name is Wonu Aleshe, and sometimes I do go by Amazing Soul. Welcome to the Mind Fuck Podcast. FCK stands for fun, compassion, and kindness. Now, on the Mindfuck podcast, what we essentially talk about is nervous system regulation, how to start to feel safe in your body, how to build trust between your brain and your body, and essentially start to remember parts of ourselves that we may have forgotten along our journey. Now, we have like a mini tradition that we do every time on the podcast where I read a list. Now, I title that list Reminders to Being Human. The intention behind reading that list is to remind myself, but in the hopes of reminding you on your journey. All right. Reminders to being human. Have fun along the journey. Show yourself compassion. Be kind to others. Being complex and being simple can hold true in the same breath. Stay curious. Hold space for pauses. Hold space for not knowing. Never underestimate the power of silence. Nature has a lot of wisdom. Pay attention. There is power in we than I. If nothing else makes sense, come back to love. Pain is our greatest teacher. And the very last one, never underestimate your ripple of existence. Yay! Welcome, my friend. Now let's get into the fun part of the show. All right. I want to talk to you today about something very specific. I want to talk to you about not the big explosive anger, but the kind that shows up quietly and then suddenly feels too big for the moment. I want you to picture this. It's a regular day. You're in your car. Maybe someone cuts you off, or you're home and someone says something small, something that on the surface, it's not that deep. And yet, something in your body reacts immediately. You feel your chest tighten, you feel your jaw clenching, you feel your tone shift. And before you even think about it, you start to feel irritated, or you feel sharp, or you just completely shut down. Now, and later you sit there and think to yourself, why did I really react like that? Or you tell yourself, it wasn't even that serious. Now, I want to talk about that exact moment today on the podcast because for a very long time, that was me on my journey, right? Growing up as a child, I was labeled the angry child. Not sometimes, not occasionally, that became my identity. She is always angry. She has an attitude. She is too much. over time. And when you hear that enough as a child, you don't question it. You simply become it, right? And that anger from me did not just stay in my childhood, it followed me into my teenage years, into my adulthood, into my everyday conversation, into my personal relationship, into moments that didn't even require that level of intensity. And here's the honest part: I didn't understand the anger at all. I had no clue. I didn't wake up thinking, I want to be angry today. No. I didn't want to react the way I did, but it kept happening over and over and over again. Same pattern, different situation. Now, let me give you a very real life moment in my life. There was a time someone gave me feedback, just a normal feedback, nothing harsh, nothing disrespectful. But the moment I heard it, my body reacted before my mind could even catch up. My chest got suddenly tight, and immediately I went into defense mode. I started explaining myself, justifying, pushing back, right? And later, when I was alone with myself and my thoughts, I sat there thinking to myself, why did that feel like an attack? I asked myself, they weren't even attacking me. And that question stayed with me for a long time. Why does something small feel so big in my body? I didn't have language for it back then. So all I could do was keep on reacting, then judging myself after for reacting the way I did. Now, I want to slow this down a bit because this is where things started to really shift for me in my life. About 4 years ago, I started doing something very simple, but very, very uncomfortable, right? Instead of trying to fix my anger, I started sitting with my anger like I would sit with a friend. And I don't mean sitting with it in a perfect, peaceful way. I mean real life, sitting with it in my mess, uncomfortable type of way, right? I mean, moments like I'm in my room, the door is closed, and someone just triggered me. And I can feel the anger rising in my body. I can feel my body getting tense. I can feel my breathing getting shallow. And my mind wants to explain it. My mind wants to blame someone. My mind wants to try to justify it. I can literally feel that in real time. Now, instead of doing all that, right, I paused and I asked myself a different question. I didn't ask myself, why am I like this? No. I didn't ask myself, how do I fix this feeling? No. Instead, I asked myself, what is this anger protecting me from right now? That question, my friend, changed everything for me on my journey. Because the first few times I asked myself, honestly, I didn't get an answer. It was just silence and more discomfort, right? But I stayed with the discomfort, with the feeling, not perfectly, but I stayed. And slowly, something underneath the anger started to show up in my life. The beautiful emotion of sadness was beneath the anger. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was just heavy as fuck. And I remember one moment very clearly. I was sitting on the floor, back against my bed, and I was angry about something that just happened earlier that day. And as I sat there, I mean, really sitting with my anger like a friend, I felt this wave come up. And it wasn't anger. The wave that came up was sadness. And not even current sadness. The sadness felt old, right? And that's when something clicked for me in my brain. My anger was not random. It wasn't me being too much. No. My anger was protection. Because underneath that anger was a version of me that felt unseen. A younger version of me that was told, you're too much. A younger version of me that was told, be quiet. A younger version of me that was told, calm down. A younger version of me that was told, don't be like that. And as a child, you don't process that logically. Your body stores it. So what does the body do? It protects you. That's what it's wired to do. And anger is a very effective protector. Anger is loud. Anger creates distance. Anger makes sure that no one gets too close to what's actually underneath it. Because underneath the anger is something more vulnerable. And that's the emotion of sadness. And that is hurt. And that is rejection. And that's feeling like you're too much or you're not enough. That's always what's beneath the anger at the same time. So instead of feeling that, your body says, let me give you anger instead to protect you. That's what the body does. It's very intelligent. And when I saw that, not just understanding it, I felt it in my body. And I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Because for most of my life, I wasn't just angry. No, I was a very, very sad child trying to protect herself. Now, I want to bring this back to you because this doesn't just show up in big emotional moments. No, it shows up in very ordinary, everyday life. For example, someone doesn't reply to your text message and you instantly feel irritated. And underneath that irritation, there's a quiet thought that runs through your brain like, did I say something wrong? Right? Or you walk into a room and no one acknowledges you right away. And you feel that quick spike of anger. But underneath that anger, there's a feeling of being invisible. Or when someone gives you feedback and your body immediately tightens and you want to immediately defend yourself. But underneath that feeling, there's a fear of not being enough. These moments, they look small, right? But they're not. Because the truth is, your body is not reacting to just that moment in time. Your body is reacting to everything that that moment represents. And this is where the shift starts to happen. It's not by trying to remove the anger. No. It's not by judging the anger. No. And it's definitely not by suppressing the anger. No. But by getting curious about the anger in that moment. So next time, my friend, you feel your anger, and you will, I want you to pause just for a few seconds, right? And instead of telling yourself, I shouldn't feel angry, right? Instead, ask yourself, what is this anger protecting me from right now? And I'll say this, you might not get an answer immediately. That is okay. Because the goal here is not to fix the anger. No. The goal here is to create enough space between you and the anger for something else to truly show up. And when it does, it just might surprise you. It might not even be the anger at all. That's the interesting part. It just might be sadness. It just might be a younger version of you that just wanted to feel seen. I want to share one more personal moment with you, my friend. There was a time in my life I felt anger come up in a conversation. Strong, very strong anger. It was immediate. And for the first time, instead of reacting, I paused. Not perfectly, but enough. I paused and I noticed something very interesting. My chest felt heavy, not just tight, heavy as fuck, right? And instead of pushing through that sensation, I softened just a little. And I remember saying to myself, I'm just noticing this heaviness in my chest. That's it. I didn't try to fix it. I didn't try to logically analyze the feeling. No, just noticing it. And within seconds of noticing the heaviness, the anger started to shift, not disappear, but it started to soften. And underneath that anger, I was able to feel my sadness. And for the first time in my life, I did not run away from my anger. I just sat there. And that moment felt more real than any reaction I had before. Because I wasn't protecting anymore. I was feeling. Do you see, my friend? And that, my friend, is the difference. What anger does, anger protects. It protects you. Sadness reveals. And your body is always trying to protect you. Even sometimes at your detriment. So if you've ever been labeled the person who is always too angry or too reactive or too much, right? I want you to consider this, my friend. Maybe you're not too much. Because I was also told that growing up. Maybe your body just learned how to protect something that didn't feel safe to feel at the time. And now you're slowly learning how to meet that part of you differently. Not by forcing it away, but by listening to what the anger has to say. So the next time anger shows up for you, my friend, don't rush to get rid of your anger. No. Just ask it like you would ask a friend gently. Their anger, what are you trying to protect me from right now? And just see what answers you are ready to receive on your journey. Not all at once. No, but little by little. Because that's how this works, my friend. It's not in big realizations or breakthroughs, no, but in small, honest moments with yourself. That's how you truly get to what the anger is trying to communicate with you. As always, I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you so much for listening. And I'm sending you so much love from my heart to yours. Thank you.